All right, hello and welcome to the Sunday League Podcast, your home for all things MLB and Fantasy Baseball. Today we've got a special edition podcast. We've got Coach Matt Reed from Greensboro College with us, one of our former coaches, me and Casey at Greensboro College. We're going to start off, get a little introduction from him, do some quick rapid-fire questions, and then we'll get a little deeper into it. So, Matt, if you want to introduce yourself a little bit, tell us a little bit about who you are, how you know us, and all that jazz.
Yeah, no, I've been fortunate enough that I got to coach Thomas for, what was it, a year and a fall? I think is what it
2
was.
years, 2 years.
2 years, 2 years, yeah. And then
Yeah.
I got to coach Casey for was it 5 years, Casey? Is that what you get after COVID? So, or
No,
4 years?
only four.
He's coming back.
Yeah.
Four. Okay. I don't know, man. Once COVID hit, everything's like a blur. It all gets put together. So I know some people have like 6 years of eligibility left, so I think they're still going there. So I mean, there's a bunch of stuff going on. So got to coach these guys. I just recently, like I told Casey a couple days ago, I got out of college baseball probably about a year and a half ago. So I actually run a CrossFit gym in North Carolina. So I'm doing that now, as well as training baseball athletes and doing some stuff on that realm. So kind of transitioning a little bit into that. There might be a chance that I end up getting back into college coaching, but it's one of those things where just kind of waiting for the right moment, right things, and then just going from there. So background for me, kind of just grew up in baseball. My dad, he just recently retired from being the bullpen coach for the Braves. He's been a professional baseball coach since I was 7. He's been a baseball coach since I was born, because when I was born, he was an assistant at the University of Tampa, where he actually won 2 national titles there. So there's a lot of baseball lineage in my family, and it's just something that I enjoy. It's something that I'm passionate about, and I enjoy helping a lot of kids to get better at it. So that's kind of my introduction and background on me. And then obviously they can fill you in on kind of some of the other stuff. So the good and the bad. So
Awesome.
I told Casey, I said, everything's fair game. So you can go with whatever stories you want to know.
Hey, all good things for me.
Yeah.
I was telling them
Absolutely.
earlier, I've got a deep appreciation for you because you were the only coach that actually took time to work with me while I was at Greensboro. So appreciate you telling you that right here.
What was
we'll
up with the
jump
swing
in.
speed? Why was it so slow?
Hey, easy.
A lot of levers.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, come on.
That's what I said when I was running for first base.
Yeah, me doing the teacher man
Yeah.
twitches.
Hey, man, yeah, if you want to dive into that topic, that's going to take a while.
Yeah, Aaron Judge.
It'll be a whole series.
Hey, I'll
So
come back.
anyway.
I'll come back on.
Perfect.
All right. Cool. All right. Well, quick rapid fire questions. So this is just spitball. We're gonna throw them at you.
All right.
Answer as fast as you can. So
All
Rawlings or Wilson?
Oh, Rollins.
Rawlings. Favorite team?
Yeah, I'm a pitcher though, so Rawlings is more pitcher related than fielder. Fielders probably say Wilson, or fielders will say Wilson. Pitchers usually say Rawlings.
Makes sense.
Fair enough.
Mm-hmm.
Favorite team?
Red Sox.
Red Sox. Okay.
Tough times.
Switched it up.
Yeah.
Switched it up. We thought Braves.
My dad's from Boston, so I'm all Boston sports. So
Gotcha. Favorite player growing up?
Kershaw.
Kershaw. Okay.
Okay.
Wrigley or Fenway?
Fenway. That's
Come on.
easy.
Stupid
That
question.
makes sense.
Do
Adds
research.
up. Favorite stadium you've been to?
Stadium that I've been to, Chavez Ravine, Dodger Stadium.
Dodgers.
That's
Okay.
the coolest one. Just because it's like I think when you hear like what it's called, it's like it's Dodger Stadium, it's Chavez Ravine. But what a lot of people don't know is when you actually go to the stadium, the upper deck is actually the level of the parking lot. So everything is actually inside of it. So that's where it looks a lot like optically when you hear it, it's like it's not really that different. But then when you actually go to it and the parking lot is the nosebleeds, everything
Right.
else you have to go down to get to. So it's a different look.
That Kirk
It is
Gibson home run, you see all those stoplights or
Mhm.
whatever they're called, brake lights. There it is. Nailed it. Words are hard.
That's funny. All right. Another one. We got coffee or tea?
Coffee,
All right. Iced or hot?
ice, not hot.
Go to order.
Go to order. Probably some kind of vanilla cold brew.
I like it.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Starbucks or Dunkin'?
Oof, that's tough because I mean, technically Boston's all about Dunkin', but
Yeah.
I'd say that's probably Starbucks just because Dunkin' sends me too many app notifications. I'm like, yeah, I don't
Oh, so you're liberal,
like,
huh?
It's the little things.
nah. It's just more like it's like 6 in the morning. I'm teaching class and they're like sending me a thing to get coffee. I'm like, who's thinking about like sending me this? So
Yeah. I don't
sometimes
want your
they're like,
I don't want your 2% off this morning.
yeah, not when it's Friday. So,
That's funny.
but yeah, I say probably Starbucks. I like Starbucks where I live.
Okay.
I'm on board with that. Best player you played with or against?
Best probably somebody I played against. I had some good teammates that made it to the big leagues, but probably the best person I played against was probably the most famous one that you guys probably know is George Springer.
Oh,
Okay.
cool.
Yeah. So he went
James
to
even knows
UConn.
him.
Yeah, he went to UConn whenever I was there.
Yeah.
That team they had that year was really good.
Yeah.
There was a pitch on that team.
Matt Barnes.
There it is. Thank you.
Yeah. He pitched for the Red Sox.
Mhm.
Nick Ahmed was a Gold Glove shortstop for the D-backs.
Oh,
They
yeah.
were all on the same team.
Drafted by the
Um,
Braves. We traded him.
Yeah, there's a lot of good players on that team. They made a regional that year, and I think it made it to super. So they were good. That was back when they were swinging the hot Nike bats. So that was
Mm.
Yeah. The all white.
that was
Oh, yeah.
no the red ones.
Oh.
The red one.
Oh,
Shoot.
I forgot
Red
about that.
Rocket.
I was died
It
because of
was
that bat.
yeah. It was when Nike first came out with bats too. So there was like way less rules.
Hmm.
Yeah. So was that still a Beezer or was it BB Core yet?
No, so BB Core. God, I can't imagine George Springer swinging a BSR bat. No, that was like my sophomore year was the first year they put BB Core in.
Gotcha. Okay.
All right. So aside from baseball, what are your hobbies? What do you like to do spending your time?
CrossFit, kind of just any kind of training that I do with kids. Obviously spending a lot of time with my wife, going different places, doing different things, just anything with her. Go see friends, family, stuff like that. So I don't have like really many too many hobbies other than like fitness, baseball, and then spending time with my wife.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's all
It's
you
a
need in
simple
life.
That's all you need.
Yeah, pretty simple.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Well, that's all the rapid fire we got. In case you want to take over for the little more deeper questions.
Yeah. So basically, I mean, you kind of already gave your background story and stuff, and but for the listeners out there, I kind of want to just hear your story about kind of growing up, obviously with a professional coach, as a father and stuff. What was that like? What was that dynamic like? Were you able to kind of spend time with him? Did you spend time with him at the ball fields? What was that dynamic like? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say like when people ask me, like when they find out like what my dad's done and what he did for a living, they ask a lot of different questions. That one kind of is like, how was like the dynamic of it growing up? And it's like, I'd say the one word I use to describe it to people is it's really unique because like there's the part of you that like you're like he started it when I was 7. So I kind of grew up in it really early. So there wasn't really like, when I got older, it kind of was always the same thing. So there wasn't a lot of like change, but like most people, like obviously, like the 3 of you guys will obviously, I don't know everybody's family situations, but like most of the time you see your mom and your dad, you see them all the time. So the timeline of it was that I would only see my dad from October until February. That was when he would be home. From February until September, he would be wherever he was stationed at for their season. So growing up, like you don't see your dad for like an extended period of time. It's a lot different. We would go see him like the second we got out of school, we would go wherever he was and we would just spend the summers there. So I spent summers in a lot of different places, getting to do a lot of different things, but there's a little bit of a difference part of it. Like there's some good and the bad. I mean, would I change it? Nah, because I mean, it gave me the opportunity to do a lot of really cool things. Like, I mean, I would go in the dugouts. I get to hang out in the dugouts, hang out in the clubhouse with a lot of players. I mean, got to meet a lot of Braves players, got to meet a lot of Dodgers players when he was with the Dodgers. So that part of it was really cool. Like you got a firsthand look to see like what it was like to be a professional baseball player and all that stuff. But I mean, there's still like some parts of it that are like different. Like my dad never saw me like from the time I was 7 until I was probably until I was in high school. He never saw me like play games in the spring, like because he just wasn't there. So like I would go and I would make like I mean he obviously had developed to be a decent player. And every year I would make all-star teams for our recreational leagues, but I wouldn't get to play in them because they would be during the summer. And it was kind of just like, well, do you want to go play the all-star game or do you actually just want to go see your dad who you haven't seen in 3 months? So it was kind of simple decisions. And I think my parents did let me play 1 year just because I really wanted to do it. And it was going to be the last year I think that I was going to play. So I did it 1 year. But for the most part, I mean, I wouldn't change it. I have a lot of good stories from when I was a kid. I probably saw way too many movies that I probably shouldn't have seen at like 8, 9, and 10 years old. So my mom found out a lot later but she's like, you let him watch that? And my dad's like, what am I supposed to do? He's on the bus. So, but on the flip side though, when I was like 7, I watched like, there was like a vampire movie that came out and it scared the crap out of me. So I was afraid for like the next like 3 or 4 years. So there was some, it was, so
Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
it's called I think it's called The Lost Boys. So you have to look it up. It's like a 90s movie. I remember I was born in 90, so yeah, you guys are way past. Okay, that's
Hey,
not too bad.
99? Easy,
I'm
easy.
old.
Yeah, we're still at 99. I think James is the only one that's in the 2000s. So
Man, I got some kids that I do lessons with that they were born the year I started playing college baseball, and I was like, dang, that'll age you real quick. I was like, but yeah, so it was good. Yeah, it was good. I mean, I wouldn't change it for the world. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So what has obviously you went to USF, born and raised, or you were born and raised in North Carolina, is that correct?
No, I was actually born in Tampa.
Oh, you were
I'm
okay.
so
Born
sorry.
in Tampa.
Yeah.
Also 813 or 336.
What's better? 813.
Okay, thank you. Absolutely.
I'm not technically from 336 though. I'm from 704.
Okay.
Oh yeah,
Ooh.
hey,
But
get it right, Casey.
Charlotte, man.
Charlotte area.
Okay, basically Florida or North Carolina. I guess that's the question.
Oh, North Carolina.
Oh, dang it.
Yeah.
He's real.
No crap. No.
He's real.
Nah, I don't like the heat.
But yeah, so went to USF. What was it like playing D1, and what was that recruiting process too, from high school all the way to D1?
Man, well, the crazy thing is the recruiting process is like way different than it is now. So,
Yeah.
the recruiting process itself, I mean, I kind of like just how I grew up with being with my dad and doing all that stuff, like, and the way that baseball is now compared to what it is then, like, you only really played like in the spring. Like, there was like fall ball. I mean, obviously, guys that are from North Carolina, like, there wasn't a lot of baseball that you played in the fall. You just kind of played other sports. Like, I played like soccer, I played basketball, I played football. Like, you just played other sports and then you just played baseball in the spring. But then, like I try to tell a lot of the kids that I work with now, I would spend the whole summer training. Like I wouldn't play games. I would just be out there with my dad, like training, pitching, training, hitting, fielding, just like learning how to play. And I tell this to a lot of kids that I do a lot of lessons with and just kind of like learning how the game goes. Like when you start to watch the game a lot, you start to pick up on just like the speed of the game and all that stuff. So my dad, he actually used to, when I was about like 10 and I started playing like more competitively and like just recreation got a little bit better, he would always ask me like if the game was like fast. So, and I would always just tell him that it was slow. So I finally, like whenever I was like a senior in high school, he asked me the question again and I was just like, no, it's slow. I'm like, why do you keep asking me that? And he says, well, your brain, like when you were little, he's like, your brain processed baseball a lot faster because I watched his players play. So when I used to play like in college and even like when I was in high school, like everything that I was out there on the field, everything felt really, really slow when I would move around. And I'm sure you guys can from experience know that like when you guys got to college, everything's more accelerated. But when I was younger, it was always slow. So when I started to get to like high school and recruiting started, a lot of it was like AAU was just kicking off. So I just happened to be lucky that I went to a tournament somewhere in Charlotte. It was against it was like a big tournament because I think like East Cobb's Astros team was there, and I pitched against them and I did good. USF happened to be there. Come to find out, the head coach at USF then was actually the head coach at UT when my dad was there when they won their 2 national titles. So that kind of paired it in. So I got recruited by them. I got recruited by Tennessee, and I got recruited by South Carolina. So that was cool to go through the process. But after kind of going through the process, USF was the only one that told me like right from the get-go that I was going to get a chance to pitch right away. The other 2 schools said that I was going to redshirt, and I was just like, well, if they're going to already tell me that I'm in a redshirt, I was like, I don't know why I would want to go there because that means that I don't really have like a fair shake. So I went to USF, and they were true to their word, and I got a chance to start right when I was a freshman. I mean, I had to earn it. It wasn't just going to be given to me, but it was something that I came out in the fall. I performed well, and I got the opportunity. So it was cool. It was a lot of fun.
No, that's cool that you say like watch it because I have a nephew who's in 8th grade this year, and my brother took him to like some hitting coach and stuff, and he just didn't quite understand like some of the things. I said, and he asked me, what'd you do as a kid? And I said, I'll be honest with you, because I watched so much baseball growing up. I was a big Braves fan. My swing, I had the toe tap like Chipper Jones. I didn't know that I did, but just self-consciously, I
Yeah.
watched so much ball. It just kind of happened. And of course, I'm huge, so I had to watch David Ortiz. So, I just kind of got everything like that. And that's, I mean, I think you learn so much just self-consciously, not training or anything. You just learn.
Yeah, I mean, you learn a lot just watching. I mean, like you're even you talking about like your career. Like, I mean, just think about it. Like all 3 of you guys are all different sizes, different shapes, but you guys were all able to play baseball because there's a physical aspect that goes with the game, but it's also a skill. Like to throw a baseball is a skill. Like to catch it is a skill. To hit it is a skill. So it's not as much of a there's not as much of an athleticism aspect of it. There is to some extent, depending on where you play, but you don't have to be a world-class athlete to be a good baseball player because there's an entire group of Hall of Famers that probably drank more beer than water in their career.
Run a mile.
Yeah, but there's a good. You guys like this because you guys are big Braves guys, but Fred McGriff used to have a saying when he would get to spring training, he would say he'd go in, he'd take some hacks off the pitching machine, and he would say just 30 good swings a year. That's it.
There you go.
That's what he would say. I just got to take 30. He's like, I just got to take 30 good swings.
Perfect.
That's awesome. That's really cool. So, obviously you kind of just talked about your experience like with the recruiting process, but what was the dynamic on the baseball team of USF? Obviously, what kind of you said that the red shirt really made you want to go to USF, but what made you want to stay there? Because obviously now in this day and age, we have the transfer portal that people are jumping in and out of all the time. Obviously, that wasn't really a big thing back then, but what was it like that just made you want to stay there and grow your roots there?
Yeah, a lot of it is being actually born in Tampa. I had a lot of family down there, and I'm not really someone but it's kind of funny that I have a brother, and if you had asked my parents between me and him who would have gone the farthest to go to school, they would have said him like in a heartbeat. I would have been the one that would have stayed close to home, but I ended up being the one that went the farthest. But I also a lot of the pull to the USF too was the fact that like all of my mom's family lives in Tampa. All of a good majority of my dad's family, except for like one aunt that I have, live in Tampa as well. So a lot of the families there. My first 2 years at USF, I lived with my abuela. So I lived with her for 2 years. So it was just good to have like that constant feeling of home. I would go visit my aunt every Monday and have dinner with them and their family. So it was just kind of a good thing that I had. And then I was actually the only out of state player that was on the team. Everybody else was from the state of Florida. So like it was funny too, because like we would play all these teams in Florida, and like they would be talking about all these guys, and they would just be like hyping them up, and I'm just like, who are you talking about? Like I don't know who these people are. Like, but that's part of the dynamic though, is that like when you're from that area and you play against these guys in high school and you kind of give them more juice than they have, like it's like, well, you still have to go out and play against them. Like just like go play. Like like there's so many times that we played like Florida and Miami and like everybody would be like just like talking about these guys. I'm just like, these guys aren't like mythical figures. Like they're people. Like you still got to throw pitches. Like just go out and play.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was my biggest pet peeve in high school.
I was always told, obviously being the smallest guy, growing up, like I always played up and everything like that and faced the bigger guys and everything. And honestly, I was a little scared, being the youngest one, shortest one, smallest one, all that kind of stuff. But one of my coaches from a very young age told me, he puts on his pants the same way as you do every single day. He's got to put on his socks, he's got to put on his shoes, and the most important thing, he's got to throw strikes. If he doesn't do that, then you win the battle. So, but yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, this is a different game nowadays. Like, there's a good thing I tell to a lot of little kids. This would be a good one that if you guys train any kids or talk to any kids, that you can just tell them this to say, hey, have you guys ever seen somebody get taken out for throwing too hard? Like, just ask them. Say, have you ever seen a guy get taken out of a game for throwing too hard? Like the coach is like, no, we gotta take you out. You're throwing way too hard. No, they get taken out because they don't throw strikes or they get hit.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably the different dynamic of today's baseball is that there's a little bit more like love to other stuff. So it's different.
Yeah.
Yeah, Thomas is big into numbers and crap like that.
Yeah. Yeah, he's the nerdy guy for sure.
Yeah.
Me and Kale are more about the eye test, as he passes the eye test. Thomas is like, well, if you look at this stat, he hits this pitch really well.
I've never referenced F4 in my life. These guys look at these guys like we're looking for Fabio.
Yeah. If you look good, you play good.
Yeah.
So I never played good.
Oh my gosh. Awesome. Awesome.
But okay, I do have a question because going back to you saying, like they're just human beings. That was always my biggest pet peeve because I'll be honest, I'm terrible with names. I didn't care about them, and it's a totally different story. But like, I always used to hate. We had a bunch of guys go NC State, Chapel Hill in my conference, and I'd be like, dude, they're like, who throws 95? I'm like, yeah, I'm taking them 450 dead center. I don't care. But growing up in that atmosphere of watching professional baseball players who, played the shortstop, starting pitcher of the teams, do you think that had any effect on your outlook on baseball players, like in high school or middle school? Or
I mean, I'd say there's probably a little bit of it. I mean, it's kind of like when I saw some of my dad's players, like what they were able to do. Like, I mean, I tell a lot of kids, and like, I mean, I used to tell Casey and them this whenever like we would talk about some different stuff, but like if you ever want to just go see like what professional baseball is, like just go watch them throw the ball around. Like just go watch them throw like infield, outfield, and just ask yourself, just be like, can I do that? Because like if you can't, then like you need to like do some self evaluation. Not that like it's not saying that your talent isn't there, but it's not even the fact that they can throw it so hard or like throw it so far. It's that like it's just here.
Mm-hmm.
And then to the next guy, it's here. It's like they don't miss. And like I think that is like I used to always use this as an example, like just when the ball gets thrown around the infield, like after a strikeout, like just watch how quickly and how efficiently it just goes. And then go watch like high school kids do it. And how like you got the one guy that's moving like super fast, and then you got the one guy that's like too far back, and then all of a sudden like the shortstop thought he was going to throw it to the first baseman, but no, he actually throws it to the second baseman. And I mean, heck, Casey Thomas, just remember how IA used to go sometimes when the ball would come in.
Yeah.
Like
yeah,
it was you never knew where the ball was going to go.
No.
Especially with certain
Avery,
people.
much better.
Won't name any names, but
Yeah. But
So
yeah, so, I
obviously
mean, I'd say that was part of it. I was going to say, and then just to answer your question, it's just, I think there's people like get these preconceived notions in their head about people. And then in the reality of it is like, you still have to go out and compete against them. So there's no point in making something bigger than what it is, because kind of the game is just about playing.
It's hard.
So transitioning out of the playing days into the coaching days, obviously, after playing, you went to Pfeiffer College. Is that correct?
Yeah, Pfeiffer University actually. So
Yeah.
it's Pfeiffer
Pfeiffer
University.
University, and then from there you went to GC and everything, where you coach.
Mhm.
You got the pleasure to coach us, obviously.
Oh yeah,
What was
and
that?
recruit
What was
and
that?
recruit.
Yeah, and recruit too. What was that transition like? And then also like, um, what made you want to stay in the game?
I mean, obviously, kind of after hearing what my dad did for a living, it kind of makes it easy. But I think a lot of it was just like I felt comfortable, like just like helping kids. I used to help a lot of my teammates. Like we would just talk about the game, and like I felt like in some instances I would help them, just coach them, just like do different things that I would see, or they would ask me questions. And um, there was a time that my dad told my mom probably when I was in like high school that he thought that I would eventually maybe coach because we were talking about like how I threw, and I started like going in detail about like what I was thinking, how I was moving, like certain different things. And he goes, well, like, how'd you learn all that? Well, I mean, a lot of it was just being with him. So like when you're 7 years old and you go out on the baseball field with like grown men with your dad, like the last thing you're going to do is just like go run around like with them. So I would just stick close to him. And obviously him being a pitching coach, he was in the bullpen. So I would just sit there and I would just listen to what he was saying, watch what he was explaining. So it just kind of was stuff that I just kind of picked up over time. Kind of the same thing like with some of the times that like we would talk about fielding, hitting with Thomas, and both of you guys you just kind of see it and you start to hear it. And then it's kind of like every single one of you guys probably has like a song lyric that you guys can remember from whatever song it is. I guess these days it's a Taylor Swift song, but
Wow.
for anybody that has
Sure.
other interest in music, but it's different songs that you guys can remember. Essentially, that's how I learned about baseball. It's just I'm just hearing it from seeing it and just wanted to kind of stay in the game. And I mean, I kind of just always enjoyed baseball, so I knew that I could, if I did what I wanted to do with it, that it could take me somewhere.
Awesome. And now, obviously, playing at D1 and then coaching at D3, maybe give the listeners a little bit of an insight to what is D3 baseball like. Obviously, we can speak from our standpoint. Me and Thomas obviously play for Greensboro, Kale play for Averett, so we have that player mentality and player experience, but from a coaching experience, we always like to say, we saw some of the best players, in high school and all that kind of stuff. And really going into D3, I was expecting for myself, a talent level that wasn't really good, honestly. I thought I was going to be going to D3 and thinking, oh, you know what, I can be one of the best players on the team. You show up and you play some of these other schools like Wesleyan, NC Wesleyan, or Methodist University, and all this kind of stuff, and playing against these guys that you're like, well, how are these guys not D1 kind of thing, But still, give us a little insight into what D3 baseball is like.
Yeah, like so obviously transitioning from USF, when I actually went to coach at Pfeiffer was actually D2 at the time, and then obviously you guys were there at Greensboro when they made their transition down to Division 3, which I mean that was a joke that they let them do that because they still had dudes on scholarship, so it was like,
Yeah,
you guys remember some of the games. It was
Oh, yeah.
like, are you kidding me?
it wasn't pretty.
Yeah,
Will
no,
Smith.
but the playing field got evened after they left. So,
Right.
but no, I mean, I'd say that probably the two things that stand out that are different from like a Division 3 player to a Division 1 player, I think size and like athleticism. That's probably the biggest gap is probably just the size and the athleticism. Just because, I mean, everybody can kind of say that this guy's, because like I said before, baseball is a super skill sport. So being skilled and being able to hit it all is what it is. Like it works out very well if you can just do those skills. But the size, the athleticism, the ability to do things better and just a little bit more efficient and just be able to hit the ball a little bit farther, like those are the things that go a little bit longer of a way. I mean, I think from the position player side, and I mean, Thomas and Casey, and you guys and Kale too, you can speak on it. I'd say that if there's one area at the Division 3 level that is probably more advanced than the other, is I'd say the hitter and the position player is more advanced than the pitcher. I think it's harder to develop the pitcher because a lot of times the pitcher that ends up developing well at the D3 level, if he gets good enough, then he will probably be able to kind of parlay that into something at a higher level, just because
Yeah.
it could just be that he needs to develop a little bit more, get a little bit stronger, get a little bit better. So, and I mean, you guys can speak on it from the fall as well, is that one of the things I tell a lot of like kids that ask me advice about Division 3 versus junior college versus Division 2 versus Division 1, like the differences of the levels. And I just tell them, I say, being a pitcher, it's really, really hard to develop if you're not a very self-motivated person as a pitcher. I mean, I think as a Division 3 player in general, it's still hard to develop because you have to figure out how much you really enjoy it, because like you guys know how the falls go, like you only get a certain amount of days. Pitching wise, like I try to explain is like we had, what was it, 20 days?
Something like
16
that.
days?
Basically, just
Something like
yeah,
that.
basically like a month. Yeah.
Yeah, and essentially that means that a pitcher, their time to develop is one bullpen and one inner squad a week. And that's, so you get 8 chances in 20 days to kind of make an impact. And it's hard. And if you're not somebody that has good like foundational work habits, then it makes it really hard. So you got to take advantage of it. I think that the hardest part is that the D3 model has the academic, what they want from the academic side, which is what they need to have, because obviously none of the kids are on scholarship. So the
Right.
university isn't technically investing money in them to help the university. So they have to put academics as a priority. So athletics ends up being something that it's not the high priority. So you might run into kids that don't have that same motor. Like they want to play baseball, but then baseball is, for them, it could be like somewhat of a hobby that they just happen to be good at. So it makes it a little bit tougher when you get more and more into the game, because it's harder to kind of, you got to pick I think it comes down to recruiting, and you have to find like really self-motivated players, because that's what's ultimately going to make your team better.
Gotcha. That kind of
Avery
goes
did not
into
have that. We were a drinking
mean-
team with a baseball problem.
Yeah. Well,
which is a lot of D3.
yeah,
That is
well, the
very
year
true.
before you guys came there, the year before you two came in, there was a problem with that too. So
I heard some
Do
stories.
you remember? Did you ever coach Willis Booth?
yeah, I
Oh, Willie
coached
Booth.
him 2 years.
We went to high school together.
Okay, so you went to what was
Moorhead.
it? Moorhead? Moorhead?
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
I know all about Moorhead. You guys actually made it to the Final Four.
Is it this past year? Yeah.
Yeah.
We should have my junior and senior year, but that's neither here nor there.
Yes.
But yeah, they've gotten a lot better. They got Stud and Nance. So yeah,
Yeah, I know that kid. And the Simpson kid, I actually got him to go to Greensboro.
good kid. I coached him. I
Yeah.
coached the middle school for 2 years. He's a good kid.
Yeah, he's a good kid. His parents are a nice family. I used to do lessons with him too.
Okay.
He might have a chance to pitch a little bit for them. I told them that he was going to be a better pitcher. He's going to be a better pitcher than a hitter.
I don't know what coach. Not Simpson. If you're watching this, I apologize. I don't know who taught him how to hit, but I don't know, like whatever. But he's got a cannon for an arm.
Yeah, he likes to compete. He likes to compete too. So that's why I told Fantasy that he was going to be somebody that would compete really well on the ball.
On what you're talking about a little bit kind of goes into the next question of when you're looking at high school talent to recruit, what are both on the field and off the field, like character stuff? Like what are the things you're looking for in players?
Oh man, I mean, it's obviously it's broad. I mean, I'd say obviously like physicality is obviously like the first measurable, because I mean it's something that can pop out to you, but you have to see kind of like you kind of look at it from a standpoint of, you almost look at it like a thing of marble, and you say, okay, like, so the first piece is the physical traits. Then you start to kind of chip away at the skills. So like if he's a position player, it's okay, how does he handle, like how does he swing the bat? Can he shoot the ball to both sides of the field? Does he have power? How does he handle like off speed? Does he walk? You start getting into that stuff. Then like depending on what position he plays, like if he's a middle guy, how is his range versus like how does he actually just field the baseball? Like, is he a rangy guy that doesn't make a lot of routine plays, or is he a guy that makes a lot of routine plays that just really can't get to a lot of places? So I mean, and obviously this isn't a knock on him because he's the school's hit leader, but is he a Hunter Curtis or is he a Michael Garvey? Like,
Yeah.
from a physicality standpoint. Like they're both great players, but they both play the position a lot differently. So,
Absolutely.
and Thomas, I don't think you ever got to see Garvey, so you missed out on a treat. So,
yeah, I think I missed him.
He was by far probably the best fielder I've ever played with. I mean, he just made he made things look so smooth. Just very athletic. To your point, Coach Reed, of just got to balls that you just don't really see a lot of guys getting to.
And that's the physical parts, and then like from the pitching side, you obviously look and say, okay, like what does the body look like? Is he somebody that's already kind of filled out physically? Is his body something that like if he gets in better shape, he's eventually gonna kind of hit a different spot? And then I think a lot of it too is that everybody says that like velo is the big key, and I mean that to some extent obviously makes things easier. Yeah, it's nice to have, but like kind of what I was saying at the beginning, like if you can't, it's harder. People say that it's easier to teach somebody how to throw strikes than to throw hard, or sorry, than to throw hard. But it's the opposite. It's way easier to kind of get somebody to throw harder, but it's also this is the flip side of it. From a mechanical side, it's easier to teach somebody how to throw strikes. To get somebody to throw hard that already throws strikes, that process is a longer process because it's a physical standpoint. It's a nutrition. It could be growing. It could be lifting. Like it's not the sexy, easy road. It's the hard road. And a lot of times people don't want to go through it. Like a good example would be the Louder kid from Wake Forest. He's actually from Albemarle, so he's from the town that I was from. Not a high price recruit. Yeah.
My dad's from Albemarle. It's crazy.
Okay, nice. Not a big time recruit, but good enough to pitch at that level. But he grew into what he eventually ended up becoming, and that's what a lot of people don't see is that when you're already a strike thrower, as you get bigger and stronger and kind of fill out, that's when some things can make huge jumps. But if it's the opposite, it takes longer, and a lot of times the bad part is once you get I mean, you guys all play college baseball, and you guys all had pitchers that you played with. Once you get a reputation that you don't throw strikes, it is an uphill battle to get that notion to go away.
Yeah.
And that's the hard part is that people say, oh, I should get more chances because I throw hard. Well, it's like they're only going to watch it for so long. Like there's plenty of guys that you guys have all played with that I guarantee you could say it for. Obviously, don't say their names, Thomas, Casey, because we obviously – we're there.
We got a couple.
Yeah, I'm sure
got
you
a couple in the mind. Yeah.
I'll say
really good ones. I'll say so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't know who your team is.
Oh, I was gonna say Greensboro. I was thinking of one person.
No, don't start saying names.
No.
So are you a big believer in projectability?
To an extent, I say the projectability obviously helps, but it's also like what do they do? Like perfect example is your teammate Booth Willis.
Mm-hmm.
Like he had a great sophomore year for us, or his junior year when he came to us. Had a great junior year. Is he the guy that you're going to look out and say, man, like this guy needs to pitch a lot? Mm-hmm. No, well he went out and he earned it. He went out and he got the job done. I mean, it's never like what you think it should be, but it's how it should be. I mean, you want to reward people for getting the job done. Like that's part of what earns you chances. Like,
yep.
I always like to use this term is that like you guys, we're not all created equal. So some people get chances because of what they're able to do. That doesn't mean everybody gets chances. I mean, that's probably the biggest difference between high school baseball and college baseball. And this is the biggest one. This is the hardest part about travel baseball is that in travel baseball, everybody gets a turn.
Right.
Pay to play.
Like, yeah. And it's just like, it creates a bad notion. Like middle school, if you think about it, middle school baseball is probably the most nerve-wracking time for any baseball player because it's the one time where you actually have to make the team.
That's a good point.
Because in high school, you could go to some places that don't have a team or they're just trying to create a team. And then you could just be on the team just because you're a body. And then all of a sudden you start getting to college and then you're like, well, I should get a chance. Well, why should you get a chance? Like, this isn't what's the best word to describe it? Like
participation trophy.
I guess something like that, but it's like it's not that everybody gets a chance. It's not like
Yeah.
it's not like high school. It's not like PE class where everybody gets to shoot or everybody gets to do that.
Yeah.
I got a question. Like, so
hmm
I know you've worked for a couple of teams and stuff. What's the best quality? And you don't have to name names, like you said.
Yeah.
Best quality in a coach that you've worked for. So mentally,
So
physically, something like that.
like from I got two of them that I could say from two different lenses of it. I won't say my dad because I mean obviously I can revert back to my dad for everything pretty much.
Mhm.
But my pitching coach in my junior senior year at USF, his name was Chuck Hernandez. He actually this is how baseball is a small world. He actually coached my dad in professional baseball.
Wow.
And the one thing that he did for me that kind of helped my career as a pitcher was just really just preach just being consistent. I think, like, I mean, obviously, how I am as a coach, how you guys remember me as a coach, like, I wasn't always that, like, forward thinking on certain things and I guess wise or whatever you guys would use to describe me. But, like, I had to learn through the tough times and through some different struggles of how to become better. And I think the biggest thing that he wanted from me and just kind of that he challenged me with was just being just consistent, like just being consistent with routine, being consistent with preparation. Not that I hadn't been doing it, but it was more like when you get to the higher levels of baseball, whether it's Division three, D1, D2, any level that you're at, it starts to become about like the smaller details, like just knowing how to execute in certain situations, knowing how to work through those situations. But I think that's what he helped me about being really, really consistent. And then coaching, the first coach that I had that after I got out of baseball was this guy named Dusty Blake, who was at Pfeiffer, which he is actually now the pitching coach for the Cardinals. So he said something to me right when we first started coaching, and I was a young coach, obviously. So, I mean, being a young coach, you're the same ages as players. There's a lot of stuff that goes with it. And I didn't have any problem with like that line. But one of the things that he said that always kind of stuck with me that I took with myself when I started coaching summer baseball, like in the college summer leagues at the Coastal Plain League and stuff like that, was that if you permit it, then you promote it. That was like one thing that he said. And I kind of stuck with me that any precedent you set, if you allow it, then you're essentially promoting that it's okay. So like, if guys show up late to the bus, then if you allow it to happen, then you're saying that it's okay to show up late. And like just those little things. So those are probably the two things that I probably have kind of taken with me all the way through, with either it's coaching now, whether it's doing the different things that I do now. So
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Mhm.
So, quick question before we get into the last question. But what's your greatest baseball moment, whether it be playing and or coaching?
oh,
Or watching.
Or watching, yeah.
Greatest.
That's Trey Turner.
Trey Turner.
Watching, and there's probably not too many watching. I'd say probably definitely more experiencing.
Yeah.
I have three. I have three pretty good ones that some of them are
Okay.
stories, so you guys will like this one. So one of them was when I was 8 years old and I was with nine. I was with my dad in Jacksonville. So he was the pitching coach there. And he had always told me like if they ever like clear the benches, like to just stay in the
Get
dugout.
out there.
And I'm like 9 years old and I'm just like, yeah, I'm not going anywhere. Like I'm not going out there. So something goes down and like they go out there. And I mean, if you ever want to see intimidation, just like watch your dad take two grown men and kind of just put them up against a net, and you're just going to be like, yeah, I'm not doing anything.
That'll
But
make a cleaner room.
yeah, but no. So what actually happened is during the whole thing, the camera guy in the stadium realized that like I was still in the dugout. So like you see like on the jumbotron this like panned out view of a dugout, and then you just see like a 9-year-old kid just like watching. So and like the whole stands just like started laughing, and I was just kind of like looking back. And I'm like, why are they laughing? And I looked and I saw myself, and I started laughing. I was like, okay, so
Hanging
That's
around.
awesome.
Yeah.
that was probably one. My personal one from playing was probably my senior year. We beat Florida when they were number 2 in the country. I got the chance to start against them, so it was cool. So I got the win in that game. But a lot of it wasn't so much about beating Florida. It was that our head coach, like every year that I was there, would always talk about how like we would play Florida every year. We've opened up the season with them twice, which that was a mistake. I don't know why I did that. But my senior year we played them, and he every year after we would lose to them, the last game that we would play them, he would always say, like, you seniors, like, you guys can't ever say that you beat Florida. And that used to just like, I used to hate it. I was just like, so then after we beat them, I like went right up to him and I was just like, hey, I was like, you ain't saying we didn't beat Florida this year. So that's probably my two. That's
Nice.
probably my two. And, I'd say the one that you guys can actually probably speak to that was pretty cool was the play to get to the championship game in the conference tournament
Oh wow. Yeah.
against Wesleyan. The double play that Curtis and Jacob turned.
Yeah.
So the cool part about that was that's for me, that's like a cool coaching moment. And you can ask Curtis about it. Is so earlier in that game, the same ball, a topspin ground ball, high chopper up the middle got hit. And the dude for Titmus, I think it was his name, he played it back. So when you have a ball that's got topspin, once it hits, it's gonna dramatically hop up.
Mm-hmm.
So it shot past him, and I told Curtis, I was like, hey, if this happens, like, you have to charge it. I was like, you can't think twice. Like, you just have to charge it. Yeah. And then sure enough, like, it happened, and I saw it, and I was like, go get it. And then sure enough, he went and got it, and he flipped it to Jacob, and that was when I was like, dang, we're about to go to the championship game. So that was probably, from a coaching moment, that was cool. And like Curtis came up to me after it, and he was like, you said it. And I was like, yeah. I was like, just, I mean,
You daggum right, I did.
I was just like, yeah. I said, but I mean, that's but that's the cool part to coaching. So that's kind of like that's three probably good moments that I could give to you.
Yeah, that team was a bunch of characters for sure.
Sure.
With Tyler Price, Tyler Price as our captain, coming on the bus doing the
Ric Flair.
What was he doing? Yeah, the Ric Flair.
The little Ric Flair impersonation.
Yeah.
That whole 5-day span was just like, felt like a dream.
Yeah.
And we probably had Waffle House 7 times in that 5-day span.
That is true. Waffle House was a kicker. Another one too was I'll give you one more good one. This is a good one. So my senior year, we made it to kind of the same way that you guys did. My senior year at USF, we lost the very first game of the conference tournament. And so we ran the gauntlet to make it to the championship game. But after we lost the first game, and you guys have obviously been in Tampa, we were staying at I think it was whatever one in Clearwater that was like right on the beach, like the nice hotel over in Clearwater. I think it's like a Holiday Inn or whatever. So we're going back to the hotel after the game. So we had like the last game. We're going to the hotel, and our assistant coach, who is now the hitting coach at the Threshers, the Clearwater Threshers, his name's Chris Hines. He remember this too, because I don't know if this is ever going to blow up, but in a joking way, our head coach gets off the bus. He's pissed about us losing. Our assistant coach, and he was like you can ask Coach Frank about this. He'll take the story, but he like kind of just stands up and he's like, guys, he goes, we're in this really nice hotel. I have 2 kids that are 4 and 5 years old. I really don't want to go see them until after this tournament. He's like, so he goes, so if you can just give me like one more night at this hotel, I'll be the happiest man. So after this is the best part. After we started winning, after like we would break it down, it would always just be like one more night. So like all we cared about was maxing the stay at the hotel. And sure enough, we did. So
it's little things.
Hilarious.
Sometimes it's Creed. Sometimes it's keeping your coach away from his kids. You know?
Yep. So it was like it was just one more night. Yep. That's true.
That's awesome.
There's some good ones. So that's what I told you. I told Casey I'd have some stories. So I figured you guys would enjoy these.
That's good stuff.
Definitely. Yeah. We love hearing. I mean, looking back at it, none of us are playing baseball anymore and stuff, but those moments of at the hotels, the long bus rides, even though they sucked and stuff, especially for D3, in California. I don't know if you want to speak on that, Coach Reed, but our California trip and stuff. We were in the van. Yeah, we were
Laverne
suburban.
Yeah,
Yeah. All that,
Yeah.
just that whole trip, was crazy from getting off the flight and everything, and not even really having a van, and people were sitting on buckets of balls just to try and get to the hotel room and stuff. But yeah, those kinds of moments. Yeah, those kinds of moments. You look back at it and you're like, man, that was some of the best times of our lives. You'll cherish those moments forever. So,
hey, trust me, I'm gonna tell you this, like, all of the van trips, like, I enjoyed the van trips despite the only thing I hated about it was just the anxiety of being responsible for like 7 like
Idiots.
student athletes. That was the only. It's not even that. Like, everybody on my van, like, you guys were on my van at times. Like, our van was awesome, but like it was more like I'm still like 28, 29, 30 years old. Like, but I'm responsible for you guys' lives, like driving. Like, anything could happen on the road. Like, like that was the only thing I didn't. That was the only thing I didn't like about the vans was that, like, just if something happened, like, I was responsible for it, whether it was my fault or not. And that stuff was something that I always was like trying to make sure of. So that
sometimes you hit a snowstorm through a tunnel and it's 75 degrees on the other side, and then you hit a flurry in Colorado.
But yeah, California was fun. It was a cool experience. I think the coolest part about that was it was a great experience. I mean, how many times are you guys ever going to go to the West Coast? And it's something that you guys can speak on, like regardless of the Cal Lutheran game or the Laverne game and all that. Like, yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Hey, if you look at, the funny thing is now, you look at some of the scores in D1 baseball now, and our score doesn't even look like it's that bad anymore. So
that's true.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was last year. I think Wake pounded UNCG like 30 to 5.
Yeah.
So
yeah. But I'm sure they didn't have to sleep 12 people in a hotel room. We were sleeping.
When I was at Pfeiffer, they went 4 to a room. So
really, yeah. Well, that last day in California, Thomas, you can speak to this. There's literally 12 of us in a hotel room, and people were asleep on the foot of the bed.
Like all but like 4 of them, and so we all just packed it
down. There's only like a couple. There's only like a couple rooms that were that they had at the hotel. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. The bad part is I should have had you guys play. Bag roulette like I used to play at USF. That would have been good. You guys would have liked that. So for you guys in the future, if you guys ever do it like with any groups or any teams, so we used to get like per diem money, obviously, from school when we would go travel. So we used to, everybody that was on the travel list, so it was 25 guys, everybody would put in $1. So you did it the first when you would leave, and then when you would come back. Actually, I take that back. We wouldn't do it if we came back if we lost. If we lost on the last day, that wasn't getting played. But so everybody would put in $1. And then when you would get to wherever you were going, we all had the same bag. So it was all a USF bag. And the only way that you knew whose it was by the card that had your name on it.
Right.
So whoever's bag came out first was who got the $25.
Wow. That's pretty cool.
So you would see like a full team, because all it was $1, so it's not like a big deal. So like you would see like an entire team just like staring at like the little tarmac thing, just waiting for like the first bag to pop out. And so
that's awesome.
That was cool.
Except freshmen. Freshmen weren't allowed to win.
Yeah, never.
Yeah.
Casey, what was worse, 12 to a room or sleeping in Suburban for a month?
Oh, 12 to a room. That night was one of the worst nights of my life.
You had a king-size bed in that Suburban.
Yeah,
me and James would fight for my life in the back of that thing.
Yeah, that whole back
Coach, just to get a little background, me, Casey, James, who was going to be on here, but, not here anymore, and then Chance, Bryant.
Yeah.
We went on a cross-country road trip.
New father Chance.
There you go.
Yeah,
shout out Cal.
Shout out to Cal.
Yeah, still didn't get an invite to that wedding. I'm still a little bitter about that, Chance.
Hey, I was the ring bearer.
I could see that. I know.
Fits
hey,
well.
I know. If you were, I know you did it for free because I know he didn't pay you to do it.
Oh, no.
No.
He gave me a smile and a handshake.
Hey, you can give everything that I'm telling you. Everything that I'm saying to you right now, you can make it back to Chance. So.
There you go.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Absolutely.
got some.
Casey,
I got to give him a buzz and tell him congrats because I haven't
Yeah.
talked to him in a minute.
Yeah.
Casey slept in the middle seat, like the back seat. So, as we all know, Casey's size, he had like a queen size mattress for him. I'm 6'5", 450 pounds, and then James Peeler in the back of the Suburban. We're fighting for our lives. And then one morning, it was like the third or fourth day. Casey goes, "Gosh, I woke up like 15 minutes early and couldn't go back to sleep because I was snoring." That was the maddest I've ever been at Casey. I was like, I'm fighting for my life back here with another grown man.
So what we
Heck
did
of
for
a-
all for all the listeners and stuff, me, Kale, Chanson, and James, at the end of our
Thomas was supposed to go.
yeah, Thomas was supposed to go, but he backed out on us.
Okay. Never
At the
committed.
end, at the end of our when we graduated college, we all took a month-long cross-country road trip. It was only supposed to be 2 weeks. It ended up being a whole month. And what we did is we tried to hit as many baseball stadiums as we could on the way. We stayed and lived in the Suburban the whole entire time, except for like one
Except for
time.
2 nights.
Yeah, 2 nights.
Or
So
well, technically 3 stops because Chicago. But.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is that Chance planned this whole trip because you guys didn't stay in hotels.
No,
No,
Chance was the only reason we stayed in the hotel. We got
Yeah.
to stay in Trump Towers because he was a dentist.
Yeah.
His dentist friend got us a room on the strip, Trump Towers. I felt like I walked down and said, I'm a boy from North Carolina, small town. I do not belong here.
Sure.
Yeah, it was crazy. But yeah,
But no, it was. We got to shout out to another Greensboro person, Evil.
yep.
We,
Evil.
his grandma made us dinner.
Yeah.
that night.
Yep. We
Yeah.
drove
You
all
guys-
the way out there, stayed with him, and his grandma cooked us some spaghetti. That was some of the best
Nice.
spaghetti in my life. It was so good.
I'm sure it was at that time.
Yeah, exactly. But it was a great time. But anyways, last question. Kale, you want to take it?
Yeah. As we're all Christians and followers of Christ, and I think one thing we're going to try to implement more into this podcast is that, talking about our relationship with God and stuff like that, and how, I mean, it's hard with guys, especially to be vulnerable and stuff like that, but just talk about your walk in your faith and kind of how you came about it. Or I know in America nowadays, it's like you have to have this huge, I was on crack and I couldn't move, and that's when Jesus came to me.
Yeah,
that's just not a
crazy
testimony.
story.
Yeah, that's not a testimony. A testimony is you walking away from, or you're walking not with God, and then you turn to God. So just kind of talk about your faith walk is what the question is.
Yeah. So for that, it kind of started when we moved to North Carolina. So I mean, we moved up to North Carolina when I was 5. So obviously, like when you're 5, kind of like my mom, she was Catholic, so I was baptized as a Catholic, and then when we moved up to North Carolina, we were looking for just like a church that we were going to go to, and we somehow ended up at a Lutheran church that I ended up going to all the way until I moved up to Greensboro. So one of the things, like I said kind of earlier on, like just like with my dad being gone, I think one thing that's kind of impactful is like you have like male figures, whether it's coaches, whether it's like just somebody that can kind of like, whether it's friends, parents, that somebody that kind of like helps kind of mold you through its character and different things like that. And for me, the pastor at our church was kind of somebody that was that person for me. My mom made sure that my brother and I were really active in like the youth group at the church. So kind of over that spell of time, like going to Sunday school, kind of going through there, like you kind of end up with your class that you kind of grow up with, and we kind of grew up all together. And the one thing that was always unique about him, my pastor, his name's Pastor John Futter. He actually is now a pastor at a church in Kannapolis, but he would always kind of like challenge me about like that, like I was the one person in the group that like if I did something that everybody else would kind of follow suit with it, like essentially like saying that I was kind of like the leader of the group without really kind of even like meaning to do it, just naturally. So it kind of always stuck with me how he would kind of like challenge me to like, I guess in a sense, like do the right things, or like just kind of be the person that he knew that I guess I was, or like that he thought I would be. And it kind of helped me kind of learn kind of just as I grew a little bit older, like, I mean, like any Christian will say, like, there's no perfectness to me. Like I made mistakes when I was younger, whether it was something that I did at there that probably I shouldn't have done, or like just different things that you do when you're kids. But it was more so that like as my faith kind of grew and as kind of I learned more, like I kind of started to see kind of like the picture as to why he was kind of trying to do it. And then when I got to college, we had a guy that would come and speak to us and take us through service every Sunday. And it was kind of one of the same things where it's just like, I think I've always looked at it like my relationship with God has kind of always been something that like, whenever you kind of just need reassurance or just, you kind of just need to know that like everything can kind of work out. Like no matter how the odds may be stacked, like you can always revert back to something that's happened or like an experience within scripture, or I always think it's like just people that you meet that just somehow like shape different things about you. And I think that's kind of like what my relationship with God's kind of been, is that like it's kind of been just little small things that have led me to kind of help others, whether it's myself, whether it's people helping me. Like you kind of see the bigger picture of it. And I'd say that the hardest thing for people today is to kind of see and understand that like as much as like we probably feel like we're like above, like actually I'll give you a good example. So there's a pastor that, or he's like an associate pastor at Mercy Hill in Greensboro, and he actually said something that was really impactful and really cool. He said that as a parent, like if somebody does something wrong to you, like are you more upset that they did it to you or that they upset God? So it kind of like hit me to where like when you think about like certain things that people like, whether it's good or bad that they do to you, like are you really more upset that they did it to you or that they actually like are essentially like committing like what God would consider sin? So then it's like, where are you placing yourself along the hierarchy of him?
Yeah.
So I think it's about like kind of just remembering to just stay grounded and just like I think the cool thing about the Bible is that it's very complex, but it's also very simple with what's just laid out. Like, and I think sometimes you can search for like the deepest things, but also you can find the simplest things just in like the most simple verse. Like, like everybody knows what the golden rule is, but sometimes it's so simple that it's so hard to do it.
Yeah.
So I'd say that for me, I try to just continue to just live my faith through action, through purpose. Like I post, I mean, Casey and Thomas can probably see, I don't know how popular you guys are on Instagram, but I usually post like an Our Daily Bread thing. And it's not that I do it because like I want other people to know that I'm a Christian. It's just that I've had people that have sent me something about it that said that it actually helped them on that day. And so it's like, well, it takes me 2 seconds to put it to my story, but it could end up having an impact on somebody. And I think that's the cool part, is that you never really know kind of where you could be in somebody's faith journey. But if you're afraid to sometimes live it out, then all you're doing is potentially missing out on a chance to help somebody else. So I say that that's kind of where I stand with it. But obviously I'm growing a lot. I actually started doing a Bible in a Year podcast. So that's been interesting because there's a lot of I'm already learning a lot just in the small amount of time that like there's some interesting chapters, interesting stories, interesting experiences that like I didn't even know were like things. So like we've started with the book of Job, and if you haven't ever like read or listened to it, it's a really interesting one. So
awesome.
We're actually,
go ahead.
Real quick, shout out to the podcast. What's the name of the podcast?
Bible in a Year with like Father Mike Schmidt.
Okay.
Nice.
Awesome.
So it's pretty cool. They're only like 20 minutes, and I started a little bit late. So the good thing is I got a little bit of a drive, like I told you guys kind of on the way. So I actually am able to. I'm gonna catch up eventually. It'll just take probably take me about like 2 or 3 weeks, but I'll catch up.
Yeah. Well, we're all doing a Bible plan together, and Casey's probably about 2 weeks behind as well. So if you could encourage him as well, he doesn't like us holding him accountable. So
I like it.
He's catching up.
Yeah,
he's trying.
I
see it.
I've been on the grind for the past few days. Don't worry.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll get there.
Hey,
but
it's not how you start; it's how you finish.
Exactly.
I started great, but I'll probably miss about 4 or 5 months here eventually.
Yeah, exactly.
Once we get to Deuteronomy, it's going to be all downhill. But well, cool, Coach. We appreciate you.
Hey, that's like when you guys do reminders. You just got to push through.
Yep.
Oh,
for
man.
sure.
You don't want to remind me about
Those
that.
were, I did not need that word in my ears.
The stars and everything.
Stars, duck walking, triangles.
Yeah.
Brutal.
Yeah.
But thanks again, Coach. Appreciate you coming on.
Yeah.
It's a good time. Good to see you again. Good to catch up and see how
Oh,
you're
yeah,
doing.
for sure. For sure. If you guys ever have any other episodes about like mid baseball season stuff, or I saw y'all doing something about fantasy, but I don't play fantasy, so
Oh, dang it.
I'm
I was gonna ask that.
I'm not a fantasy guy. I'm not a fantasy guy.
guy.
I'm
That's
a
what I
fantasy
keep up
football.
with.
I'm a fantasy football guy, but I'm not a
Right.
fantasy baseball guy.
No.
Oh,
See, I'm the
gotta
opposite.
get
I
into
love
it.
baseball, but I can't do football.
I'm too biased because I end up picking guys that I like or guys that I know, and I just
Sound like
didn't
Kale.
wanna-
Yeah,
Well,
that is
it's
Kale.
also
Minds think alike.
but I'm not gonna say that I'm not gonna pick I always pick my only advice that I give for you guys for fantasy baseball is pick somebody who you know what you're gonna get.
There you go.
Like
Okay.
Flash is good, but if it's not,
Flash in the pan.
if you can't count on him, number one, being on the field, or you don't know, like for every like I told you guys this, there's always going to be one guy that has a breakout year, and there's always going to be one guy who has a bad year. So
Yep.
choose wisely.
They make fun of me because I pick Freddie Freeman every year. I'm like, well, dude hits 300 every year, plays 160 games.
Yeah, it's like
I
people
don't make
like
fun of you for
wanted-
picking him.
GM
I
of
just
the
make
Braves.
fun of you for how much you
I
love
know,
him.
I know everybody wanted to draft Aaron Judge after his year, but it's like, you think he's going to have that year again?
Mhm.
He's not going to be healthy for the whole year. So,
He's one of the most amazing because to be 6'7" and repeat his mechanics as much as he does is incredible.
yeah,
Little
when you
twitch
just gotta
action.
touch the ball, it's easy.
Yeah.
That's fair. Well, cool. I
Plus,
think
he plays
that'll.
at a short porch.
This is true. Well, that'll wrap us up. I appreciate you guys listening. Thanks again to Coach Reed. We're gonna finish up recording. Like, comment, subscribe, whatever, all the stuff, and we'll see you next week. Love you. Bye.
Love you. Bye.